more on our marketing efforts.
Well, good morning, everybody. Hope you had a good night last night. We're going to talk a little bit of the technical stuff on it, but just let you know that this presentation is on your thumb drive, so you don't have to worry about taking a lot of notes because it will be on there as well. So we'll start you off with a video clip, then we'll talk about all the attributes. The Ct200h has an optimized hybrid system that is both lightweight and compact, and is designed that way on purpose. It offers a fun-to-drive performance, excellent ride comfort, and Lexus quiet, of course. The CT will deliver the best fuel economy of any premium model available anywhere in the world, as Brian mentioned just a little bit earlier. The engine itself, actually we mentioned the mileage is 43 city and 40 highway, and 42 as a combined, with the total horsepower of the system is 134. The engine is a 2ZR FXC, the 1.8 liter dual overhead cam, 16 valve VVTi engine that Prius uses. It's 98 horsepower, 105 foot-pounds of torque. It does have the Atkinson cycle on it, as well as we added the cool EGR that we've added on a few of our other hybrid systems already, as well as the exhaust heat recovery system. The hybrid transaxle is very similar to all of our other hybrid systems. It's the same setup, so we won't go into detail on that one. The power control unit, though, or the inverter, does a few different jobs on this car. It raises the 201.6 volts from the 201 up to 500 volts and up to 650 for a max. And I'll touch on both of those in just a little bit. The hybrid battery is an improved nickel metal hydride battery, and it provides increased cargo volume because it's smaller, more compact, and fits in the back right behind the second row seat very well. A couple of things about the hybrid warranty, though. The hybrid warranty is 10 years, 150,000 miles for the zero emission states or the CARB states. If you have the federal emission state, then you'll get an 8-year, 100,000 mile, or then make it in different terms, it's an AT PZEV and zero emission and a SULEV in the Fed states. There is one mistake in your spec sheet you're going to get on your thumb drive that we couldn't change it. It was in a PDF form. The high voltage battery has the KW at 36. That's supposed to be horsepower at 36. So just be aware of that when you get into your spec sheet. The exhaust heat recovery systems, I mentioned, we have used this on the HS as well as the RX. And it literally just takes the exhaust to help heat the cooling system up a little bit more by closing a door that's on the exhaust right here and allowing the exhaust to kind of circulate around the pipe a little bit more and heat the coolant. Once it gets to the right operating temperature, then the door will open and allow the exhaust to escape. We added the EGR, the cooled EGR to this system. And remember the 1970s and 80s, that was used for NOx. Well, we use this instead of using fuel cooling like a lot of other manufacturers use, again, to try to keep our economy where we want it. So the precise amount of exhaust gas or inert gas is just introduced to lower the combustion temperature for us. The driver can choose between EV, Eco, Normal, and Sport driving modes. There's 4 different driving modes in the car, and you'll want to kind of play with this today as you drive it, and make sure you're doing it while you're driving, because you can definitely tell the difference driving. Notice we have an Eco on the left, and this is a knob. You twist the knob, okay? On the left side is the Eco, and on the right side is Sport. Then if you want the Normal, just push it in, or if you cycle the key, it goes back to Normal anyway. Unless you're in Eco, then it will stay in Eco. The EV button is on the left side, and it's a button. So if you ever want the Eco or the EV, then you need to press the button when you want to get that. There's a couple of things to remember on that, though. It depends on the battery state of charge, how fast you can go, how far you can go, as well as the engine temperature, and as well as where your accelerator pedal is. Do you have it all the way down? No, you don't want that. You want to be kind of at a lower speeds. I think the most I was able to get out of it was 23 miles per hour, and we got to go almost 10 miles, but everything was at the normal operating temperatures, etc. So the hybrid system. Notice that the gauge on the left side is similar to our other hybrid systems, but the thing to notice on this graphic is that when we're in the normal mode on the mode select switch, the instrument panel will have a blue haze behind it, as well as the hybrid gauge on the left. Once I go to the Sport mode, or let me back before I go to Sport mode. Once I go to the EV or the Eco mode, notice that we have the 2 lights comes up in the center of the IP, as well as on the left side we have an EV light that kind of shows up. That used to be our Eco light, so it's the same thing, you know, and that light's only on there to help teach you how to drive a hybrid. We have a lot of people trying to get the best mileage out of this as they can, so if that light's on, you're doing pretty good. If it's off, you're not doing very well for doing your economy. Once I go to the Sport mode and twist it into that, notice that the instrumentation on the left side goes to a tachometer, and this can be changed in your personalized settings, that you can leave a tachometer for all the modes, or you can switch it when you turn it to Sport, as well as the red haze or the red lights that's in the instrument panel. That's also adjustable by your personalized settings. This is once you put it in the Sport mode, a couple things change. Of course, Sport mode, you want it to feel sporty, right? The steering is going to feel a little heavier. So when you go around corners and you're actually steering the car, and that's why I say you want to switch this while you're driving today, because you will feel the difference in the steering effort, as well as if you're hearing close enough, you'll hear a difference in the fan. Your air conditioning system will change a little bit because it's lowering fan speed, it's changing your compressor settings, so it's going to help you get better performance out of in the Sport mode. Once I go to Eco mode, notice the gauge on the left if you're used to it. If you're at the very top where you have power mode, that's when you're not getting very good economy. Eco's in the middle, that if you're letting off the throttle or stepping on the brake, you get a charging system or regenerative braking. Then we go into the driving modes itself, and here's where things get a little bit different. So just try to think about the accelerator pedal. If I leave it at the bottom or at the top, and as I step on it, I just take a straight line. And that's on a normal driving situation. Then if I put it into Eco mode, then if I step on the pedal the same amount, I get a slower reaction to the hybrid system. So it's almost like a snow mode if you're used to that. It's real similar to a snow mode operation. If I put it in the Sport mode, then it does just the opposite. It gets a real quicker response from the hybrid system. So your throttle response is going to be different, your steering is going to be different, as well as your fan speed is going to be a little bit different as you drive. Another couple of things, if you're on anything but Sport, you're going to get 500 volts for a maximum on the battery. That's where the EV, or your the inverter. The inverter is going to change that. You're going to get 500 volts for a maximum unless you go to wide open throttle. If you're wide open, you'll always get up to 650. But below that, you'll always get 500 on those two. Once you put it in the Sport mode, then it will be 650 all the time. Then we go to the air conditioner. It is a compact and lightweight unit. It's an electric variable capacity compressor, has excellent cooling performance, and also is going to reduce power consumption. We use for the heater a positive temperature coefficient element in front of the heater core. This is not necessarily to warm up the heater core, but it's there for defrost. If I'm in a cold weather state, something I need a good defrost pretty quick on the windshield, this is there for good defrost conditions, and it put out a maximum of 600 watts. LED lighting. We have daytime running lamps that's LED. Consumes half as much power and less than dim halogen high beam, and those are standard. Then we add halogen projector low beam lighting standard with the LED lighting available, and Lexus was the first in the world to use LED headlamps, and that was on the LS hybrid back in 2007. The CT is available with more LEDs than any other Lexus model in our lineup, for a total of 89 if I add the LED headlamps. Environmental performance. It's been optimized. Ecological plastic materials containing 30% plant-based material or polyethylene is used for the floor mats, deck side, and deck board trim. All interior components have been designed for ease of dismantling as well as recycling. And you know the diamond you have on the bottom of your water bottles that has the 1 through 7. This has that on the back of all of our components, so you're able to recycle those as well, and the car is literally 80% recyclable. Aerodynamics. A high level of engineering attention has been paid for aerodynamics because, again, they want it to be a good hybrid model as well as a fun to drive. So they use CFD, or computerized fluid dynamics, on this vehicle just to make sure we could get this car slipping through the air as good as we could for a coefficient of drag of 0.29. The main development focused on the CT was on handling and ride comfort. And again, for the aerodynamics underneath the car, just the panels was added and everything just to make sure I didn't have anything hanging open in the air. Stability and comfort is what we want you to experience today. For the body construction, we wanted to add rigidity. So you're going to see quite a few slides coming up with how rigid we made the body, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But the number of spot welds and stuff in the body has been changed, connecting the floor crossmember and the wheel housings. All of that spot welds have been increased, and the shape and location of the braces were optimized just again to give us the best weight transfer as well as durability. We had more bracing in the front and rear suspension systems, and we had a full closed cross-sectional frame around the entire rear door opening. You know, some of that, if you're going around corners, you get a lot of the creaks and the rattles out of our rear doors on this for a 5-door. And this was all added just to take care of those issues. More reinforcements been added to the back. And the weight of this car is actually, curb weight is 3,130 pounds. Just notice in this picture we used high tensile strength steel and aluminum, but notice this is the upper view looking at the floor pan, and this would be the bottom view, just showing you where those different components are located. And then this one shows you where the aluminum, like we have the hood, the 5th door, as well as bumper, and different other components are aluminum and the high tensile strength steel. It's the lightest Lexus on the road today. 60-40 weight ratio. Location and installation of all the heavy components have been optimized again so we can have that good weight ratio. And you'll notice that when you drive it. And I'll have you a couple more slides to talk about that in just a minute. Performance dampers. You know, when you get a highly rigid body, it kind of sounds like a spring. When you hit a bump or something, it kind of reverberates inside. So to take care of that, we added performance dampers. And we'll talk to those just a little bit. But these are a Lexus first for us. This is what the damper will look like, just nothing more than a simple shock absorber put in between the strut towers as well as the back frame horns, and again, just to try to absorb all the different body motions and vibrations that it will incur during driving. This one, notice where the strut is in the front. We have the McPherson struts and we have the bar going across, and you're able to see that one on the car. When you lift the hood, you'll see that one just up under the cover for the windshield. And on the back, it's right at the very back, just in front of the bumper. Think of this like a tuning fork. The whole vehicle kind of like a tuning fork, and if you smack it with a hammer, you get a real frequency change coming out the back. But once we put a performance damper in the middle of it, the frequency all changes, and that's kind of what we're doing with this vehicle. This graph kind of shows how the frequency response to a tuning fork changed. In the red that's with performance dampers, and the black is without. And the left side is decibels, and the bottom is graph is with hertz frequency. So it tells you how much change is able to change in the vehicle when you're driving it. So you'll notice that when you drive it. And on this one, frequency damper in place, you can see a difference in frequency again, red being with and the black being without. And on this one, the red line going across the middle, that is between the front struts. Without it is in the black. You see a lot of different vibrations able to transmit. With it, it's actually able to drop it. Then a little bit on the suspension. We have front McPherson struts as normal, and in the back we have a trailing arm double wishbone suspension, and with that was able to give it more cargo room in the back, because we don't use McPherson strut in the top to take out some of that room. So we have a 14.3 cubic feet of a storage in the back. That's with the second row seats up, by the way. This electric power steering we've added on all of our hybrid vehicles, so this gives you an idea for that. Engine mounts, this being a 4-cylinder, we did add some side stoppers to it, so so the 4-cylinder didn't shake so bad and actually feel it coming back through the car. This kind of really holds it in a more neutral position. Then on this one's a little bit hard to read, so I'll try to talk you through it. This on the left side, this is before development. On the right side is after development. But this is looking with the front fenders and the hood off of the car, looking at the cowl side. This is looking from the top. If I cut the top off and look at this, is also the cowl side. And this is for sound absorbing insulation for engine noise. This is after development, what it came out like. But notice on the right, if you think in the red, that was for before development. Then the next slide is what the target was, and then what we actually wound up after development was even better in most cases than what the target development was for engine noise. With that, driver-focused attention was placed on how you're going to drive the car. Optimized seating position, having a low hip point and low steering column angle. The Ct200h is one of the sportiest driving positions within the Lexus lineup. You know, the ISF and probably the LFA is probably the only two other with the same type of comparable. Then here, this is actually showing the difference in angle of the steering column. Is 21 degrees for the column and 45 degrees for the pedal. Again, because if you're setting low in that car like this is, you're going to be feeling that angle, as well as your center of gravity is right in the middle of your leg. So when you're going around corners, you feel like you're in the middle. You feel like you're in control. So again, make sure you feel that as you drive through it today. Inside the car, we have zones laid out, and this being our display zone at the top and our operation zone at the bottom, because down there's where all your remote touch as well as your controls are, and at the top is trying to keep your eyes a little bit more on the road. This is more of an ergonomic design. Everything is within driver's reach. So again, as you set in the car, you'll notice that everything is right there at your fingers. So it actually works pretty good for how to control the car and feel more at ease. Dimensions. And again, these are in your, will be on your thumb drive, so if you don't get a chance to write them down, they're in there. We have a height of 56.7, wheelbase of 102.4, and the length is 170.1 inches. Then we have the width of the car, 69.5 inches. And the interior dimension, and again, the biggest thing on this is the 14.3 cubic feet for interior cargo. We added two new colors. We have a daybreak yellow mica and a fire agate pearl, and we do have these in the lineup out there, so you get a chance to check those out more today. We do have a new interior. This is, we're calling the material New Luxe, and with New Luxe you get three colors, black, ecru, and caramel. When you get the leather, you get two colors, black or water gray. A couple of things about the New Luxe is the fact that it's no volatile organic compounds or no VOCs. It's lightweight, it's 50% lighter than leather. It reduces CO2 output by 65% over leather, and there's no metal dyes used in the process. So this is giving you an idea of the New Luxe material on the left, and notice that it does have a little bit of a pattern in it. And once we add the leather, you tell the difference really good is that the leather is perforated. So just give you an idea for that. Next, we have a panel on the right side of the dash that's changeable. Again, if you wanted to customize it a little bit more, it comes with a black as a standard, but we added ash burl or bamboo or metal, and you can change that so a customer, if they want a different look inside, they can change that. Safety features. We have our normal ABS, track, VSC, etc., but we did add the Smart Stop technology to this car, as well as all of our models this year for the fall gets Smart Stop technology. Pre-collision system, segment first. This will get pre-collision system as well as radar cruise. And it does have 8 standard airbags. The airbags on this car are, on the driver and front passenger, are dual stage airbags. And the key features are, if you notice, especially on the right side, LED daytime running lights, 17-inch wheels, new Lux seating surfaces, leather trim steering wheel, dual zone automatic climate control, and ecological plastics, the interior and luggage area. Audio systems, standard and premium. We have 2 different models of it, and they feature Class D digital amplification. The power efficiency is 50% increased, but the weight reduced by 26%. With that, we did add the 12-volt power supply as well as the USB and aux port just right behind that. And a device that we don't have with us today, it's a universal device holder that will go in that pocket right in front of that. It will hold something as small as an iPod Nano or as big as a Droid X, and holds any of the portable nav displays. So if you wanted to add your own in the car, that's okay, because it will hold any one of those. Available equipment. Pre-collision system with dynamic radar cruise, LED headlamps with washers, power moonroof, heated front seats, and an in-mirror backup camera. And for option packages, very few packages. Notice most of them are audio and moonroof package, but we add backup camera, navigation, then a leather package on top of that. And with that, that concludes my presentation, so I'll give it back to Brian to finish up.